Morning, guys. Today I just wanted to do a kind of piercing update slash piercing plans video. I haven't talked much about my piercing stuff in a while. It's been mostly about tattoos, but I do have some changes and modifications coming up for my piercings that I'm really excited about and have been for a while. But first, I'm going to talk a little bit about my new shirt that I'm wearing here. I got this just this week. We're going to be releasing new shirts on the Ghost Pine store. That's my shop for anyone who doesn't know. We're doing Halloween release. We have this one in white and black, and then we have a couple of other Halloween designs coming, and there'll be a link in the description if you guys are interested in that or any of my other shirts. I don't really advertise often, but I'm pretty proud of these designs that my wife did, so yeah, I really like this one a lot. I'll be wearing this one a lot. Anyway, I've ordered some jewelry quite a while ago, actually, from Stone Wolf and one piece from South Shore Adornments. I normally get all of my jewelry from Stone Wolf, but packages have been taking a little while, so I wanted to try South Shore, and right now South Shore has been a little bit quicker. He made my last labre, and Stone Wolf has made most of my jewelry. And they're almost the same for quality, but the package delivery time sometimes varies between makers depending on how busy they are and stuff. So anyway, my current plan is to continue stretching my conch on this side and this side. I gave them some time off. I gave them probably 3 or 4 months off before I ordered jewelry for the next sizes, because I wanted to let everything in my ears kind of really heal and settle. I was getting some, I had a little bit of migration. Not the same as rejection. Some people don't know the difference. Migration is kind of natural. It can be avoided, but in some cases, especially depending on your skin, it can be almost inevitable that you'll have migration. I had migration bad enough that this one ended up tearing. I actually used to have another little stretched piercing in this tear here, but the skin got too thin and I just took it out. So it didn't tear right through, but when it healed, it left like a notch. So I didn't want that to happen to any of my other piercings, so I've given them all quite a bit of time off to heal. This one, for example, the skin thinned a little bit during the stretching, but it's done thinning now. Same as this. Some of these areas, there's no real track record for anyone stretching, so I don't really know anyone that I can ask about their experience or anything like that, so I'm always in the unknown with a lot of this stuff. Same as the forward helixes on both sides, the tissue thinned quite a bit, but that actually ended up being a good thing, because having really thick tissue there was actually more of a detriment when I was trying to put jewelry in. I would need to accommodate the length of the tissue, and so I'm actually kind of happy that it thinned out a little bit. It's made it easier to get tunnels and stuff in that fit the area appropriately. This one, I can't stretch as much as this one. The left forward helix, the tissue is thinner than the right. So the right ended up getting to go quite a bit bigger. I think this is a 00 where this is only a 2. So I wanted to have them the same on each side, but my ears aren't the same anyway, so it's not a big deal. It's just, that's how it worked out. It's the same thing as I have one helix piercing that's much smaller than the other, because the tissues just ended up stretching differently. One stretched more inward and one stretched more outward. That's actually part of why this conch piercing is bigger than this conch piercing, because the interplay between the helix on this side and the conch is non-existent. But in this side, where I have the giant helix piercing, the conch and the helix kind of fight against each other a little bit. So stretching one pushes on the other now, and so it's made this conch a little harder to stretch. I am going to stretch it, but this is a 14 millimeter where this is a 16 millimeter. So this one, I have a set of jewelry coming. I have a 15, 16, and 17 and 18 millimeter custom fit like conch plugs coming to stretch these. And this one will be getting upgraded to 15 millimeters as soon as it gets here, where this one will be going to 17. And then I'll just put this over here after the 15 and kind of keep them going up. I want to get them both to, I want to get this one to 18 millimeters and probably leave this one at 17. And then I might eventually get this one all the way up to 20 millimeters or so, which would be just a little bit smaller than this. This is a 22. I actually had my helix stretched to 23 millimeters. Recently, I stretched this again to 23. And it bowed my ear out in a funny way, and I wasn't really a fan of it. So I think this might be where I leave this, because when I stretched it to 23 millimeters, all of a sudden my ear it did this, it's already a little bit pointed out, but it kind of moved out a little bit farther to the side. It just wasn't for me. So even though my ears are already pretty warped, they're at a point where they're not standing out too much, and I don't really want them bowing out too much. So the minute that starts to happen is kind of where I call it quits with things. It was the same thing with my septum piercing. When I was stretching my septum, I got to 22 millimeters, and my nose finally started to kind of change a little bit. Well, it's changed quite a bit, but it started to become really noticeable that I had a stretched septum. And I didn't really want that look of like, eventually if you stretch your septum enough, it becomes like you can see the ring shape in your nose. And you can only kind of see it at the bottom, even though everywhere in my nose I can feel it. It doesn't really present that way that badly. That can happen at earlier stages for some people than others. So I've seen some people, they get up to like 12 or 14 millimeters and their nose is smaller by design. So you can see that shape coming through a little earlier, where I had a pretty big nose to begin with. So it didn't show until quite a bit later. Anyway, bit of a sidetrack there. I'm also changing my labret piercing again. I mentioned in an earlier video, but I have another piece coming from South Shore. That's the piece I have from South Shore coming. It's going to be just a little bit longer, and it's going to have a round finish, because I find the flat finish is a little, it's a little less aesthetically pleasing. I like the slope of the round finish for a labret, and I think this is almost perfect. It's just a little too short. I don't want it super long like I've had in the past, but I want it to have just a little bit more length, so that it doesn't look like it's kind of being absorbed into my lip sometimes. Right now, when I smile, it looks long enough, but when I'm sitting still, it's just barely peeking out of my lip. So anytime you're doing labret jewelry, it depends a lot on your lip and anatomy. So you end up doing a lot of troubleshooting and back and forth and stuff like that to get just the right piece. I am happy with the size of it though, and when I look back at the 26 millimeter that I was wearing earlier this year, I actually can't believe my lip was as big as it was. It looks way too big to me now. So I have no plans of going bigger again. I may go smaller than this eventually, but for now 16 millimeters is working great for me. The other thing is I'm getting another Filtrum piece. It's going to be similar to this one, but it's going to be where I had this teardrop made by South Shore. It has more of an oval shape. It's not quite as pointed as I wanted it to be. So Stone Wolf makes a teardrop as well, and it's got more of a triangular kind of pointed look to it. And it's going to be basically the exact same thing, just it's going to have a rounded finish instead of a flat finish again. And it's going to be a little more triangular. That's all, really. I also find when shaving the flat finished pieces in your lip, they get a little more nicked. People ask me all the time how I shave with my lip jewelry, and I have a little beard mustache trimmer that I can get around them. But for whatever reason, the flat finished pieces get nicked. Like they get little scuffs on them from like shaving and stuff like that. If you don't, and I don't take them out whenever I shave because there's honestly no need. But the rounded don't seem to get that, so I feel like rounded finish is better than the flat finish. Anyway, that's just my preference. Another thing I wanted to touch really quick while I'm talking about piercings is I've been wearing my glasses less over the last few months, and I've had some comments about my bridge piercing, the top one. Like, oh, it's rejecting. Oh, take that thing out. It's so thin. My bridge piercings have been done for, let's see, I got the first one done in 2005, and then I did this one myself in 2011. So they're 10 and 15 years old, and they haven't been migrating in, I don't even know how long. It's been probably 8 or 9 years since the migration has stopped. It's just I was wearing glasses for so long that people didn't notice. And even in these vlogs and stuff, I wear glasses quite a bit, and people wouldn't see that the skin is pretty thin up here, but that's where it stopped. It hasn't migrated any further than that. There is a difference between a piercing rejecting and the skin migrating a little bit. Sometimes things settle and then they're done. Like, that's it. This settled a long time ago, and it's been like this all along. You can look at pictures of me from years ago, and if you look up here, it's the same thing. So don't worry about my bridge piercing. Honestly, I find it irritating to get that comment quite often, especially on TikTok. I get it a lot. But I understand that people just don't oftentimes understand migration and how piercings settle. So bridge piercing is fine, and don't worry about it. If it ever gets to the point where it thins out any more than this, I probably will take it out myself. But they leave kind of nasty scars, so I'd rather leave them in. And if I have no other option, I'll take it out. But I'd rather leave it in, just due to the scarring that comes from it. Less about even enjoying the look of the bridge piercing now. It's more about just not wanting to have that nasty visible scar and place right on your face if you can avoid it. Because when those holes heal, they don't vanish. They stay visible, and that's fine on an ear or something, or even under the lip. I've got all kinds of scars from old lip piercings and stuff, but I'd rather not have one there if I don't need to. But yeah, anyway, that's the current plan. Is I'm going to be stretching my conches again right away here. That jewelry's on the way. I ordered it back in July, and it's just now finally on the way. So that's how long it takes sometimes for custom-made jewelry to be made, as a note. Because some people wonder how long it takes. Sometimes it takes a month. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 months. But it's always worth paying for the quality of it and knowing that you got it made right to your dimensions and exactly as you wanted. And I can't wait for it to show up, because I'm like a kid on Christmas waiting to especially this one. I really want to get that up, but this one too, because I think that this conch is sort of limitless in how big I can get it. I think I can go all the way up to 20 millimeters eventually without any real detriment. Or this one, I think I have to be a little bit more modest with, because of the interplay between the giant helix piercing and the conch is already fairly big. So it's not a whole lot more I can do with it, maybe a few more millimeters, but this will be an ongoing project for at least another year, I would think. So anyway, hope you guys have liked this video and found it useful in some way. And if you did, make sure to give me a thumbs up or a like. And I'll talk to you guys again soon.